Hey guys, so let's talk about how I got into self harm and what I did and when I started and all of that jazz. So let's get a cigarette, let's get some wine, and let's sit down for story time. But anyway, um, how I got into self harm, right? Um, I was I want to say I was 13 when I first heard about self-harm. I want to say 13. Maybe a little younger, maybe like 11. I think I was still in middle school. It was this girl named Kiara. Yes. And I was walking with her, and that's when emo started to get really popular, and punk and those type of things, and the scene kids, and you know what I'm talking about. If you you know born in the 90s, you know what I'm talking about. But so like scene kids, emo kids, like that became really popular. Before that it was like really gothic, but then now it was seen in emo. And why they were called emo was it's short for emotional and things like that. And listening to like rock music and stuff like that. It was really popular when I was like 10, 11, starting to get really popular. And I remember this girl, Kiara, she lived like 3 blocks away from my house. And we were walking home, and she was talking about how she cuts herself. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, oh yeah, I have scars because I cut myself. And she's like, oh, I cut myself. I started cutting myself. It makes me feel good. It made me feel like different or some shit. I forgot what she said. But that was the first time I heard about it. And I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And I didn't really think about it afterwards until I started. I want to say it was after I came into the hospitalization. This is where it gets a little fuzzy. I either started cutting myself. Actually, I think I did. No. I started cutting myself before I went into the hospital. So I was getting really depressed. I was getting sad. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I was smoking a lot of weed. And I was in high school. And I decided, I kept researching. I researched everything. So I kept seeing people talk about cutting themselves. And I remember the conversation that Kiara and I had. And I decided to do it. But you know me, I'm a baby. I hate pain. So I started to do it just to say, hey, let me see how this feels. So I went and I got a razor, and I hate pain. So it was just like me trying to like build myself up. Like I had the razor on my wrist. It was those little cheap pink dollar razors. I ended up like using like a what do you call it? A scissor, like a kitchen scissor, to kind of bend it. So like the razor kind of stuck out so I could just use it. So I ended up like doing it. And it hurt so bad. I was like, oh my God, this hurts so much. Why would people do this? This hurts like hell. And I was like, oh, never again. This hurts. I can't do it or whatever. Not knowing that that was like the end for me. So I did it once, right? And I was like, never again. This hurt. Like, I just did it. I was just like, I was just home and I was just like, let me just try it, right? And that's how I did it. I said never again. I didn't want to do it. A couple months passed after that. And like when I first did it, why I did it was like because I'm sad and depressed, and I'm like, what, like maybe let me try. But it didn't really help then. So I was like, a couple months passed, still feeling sad, still feeling depressed. Something happened, and me and my parents got into an argument, into a fight. And I got so upset. And I stormed in my room and I slammed my door. And when I slammed my door, when I went in my room, I don't know where the razor was, if it was there or like whatever. I can't really remember. But I was so pissed and angry. And I guess the razor was like right in front of my face. And I'm like, and I took it and I just started just slicing and crying, just slicing and crying, just like cutting myself, crying and everything. And I got it. I knew that was for me. And that's how I started cutting myself. And I kept doing that. Every time I got into an argument, every time I got into a fight, every time I felt sad or depressed, I would just slice, like just get my anger. I remember, that's what I remember, just getting angry and just slicing my fucking arms. And I just, I can remember seeing the razor afterwards and seeing the razor, like, because I was so like angry and just doing it, that's it, like it used to snag on my skin, so I'd have like skin on the razors and things like that. But yeah, that's what I used to do. Every time I got into an argument with my parents, I'd lock in my room, I'd start crying, and I would get my razor and I would fucking cut myself. And I remember sometimes saying, like, this is what you did, Mom. This is what you did. Like, you did this to me. And I was so, like, angry and sad and just pissed off with the world and life and everything. And it helped. It helped. So I did that for a while. And in the hospital, you know, of course, you can't have razors, like, duh. So in the hospital, we didn't have any razors. But then one of my friends that were there, I was like, I really, miss cutting. I did. It was an addiction at that moment. Like, at that time, I was addicted to cutting. I used to cut every day. And I said, I missed it. And she's like, oh, well, I just use an eraser. And I'm like, what? An eraser? Like, what do you mean? And she told me, just get a pencil, because you're allowed a pencil in the hospital. Get a pencil with the eraser, and just get the eraser and start, like, erasing your skin, like, really, really hard. And obviously it's like a burn type thing. So it did give you that pain, and it did give you that I don't know what to say, like that sensation that you got. But what I really missed was the blood. That's what I missed. And yeah, I guess that's I'm gonna do this in part 2. So I will continue the story in part 2. So I hope you guys watch it. Bye.